I think, this way of consuming information from the AI, when we get just a summary of our request, also with all these reels, this affects how we think, how we
absolutely
contribute in the future.
One of the reasons why I really wanted to get into the AI field too is I went to a business conference and I got a stack of 10 books as a present. And I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to read these 10 books, especially with business books. You usually have 200 pages, but then maybe 20 are actually useful, the real information. Everything else is like stories and like examples and so on. So then I thought like, why can't I build my own agent? And so I literally went onto ChatGPT and I built what I called Book Genius agent. And I just basically said like, I want the information presented in this way. Give me the 5 major points of what this book is about. Give me like the key pros and cons of every point. And then I had a summary of the book. And then I said, okay, well, I want more functionality. Like, can you actually do a chapter by chapter walkthrough? Like chapter 1, tell me what the major points are. Tell me what examples were used so that I can extract the information significantly faster. So if it takes me, let's say, full time a day to read a business book, now I have the information in 20 minutes. And so I'm much more effective and efficient, and I got all the main points as well. And maybe in the future, I don't even need to read the book. I just tell my agent, like, what are the best books, and like, go figure this out for me.
It's scary.
Yeah.
It's really scary because, this is the way how you can consume, 20% of the most useful information from the book. And it's open, nothing to say.
You may lose some of the context. If you're just purely looking at it from informational purposes, maybe you want to have more of a connection with the author, and the author might share a story of like why the book is so important to them. Maybe they say, they just had a child and as a result wrote the book. You miss some of that context unless you prompt the agent for that as well.
But I think that something similar happens to the podcasts.
You think so? I guess it could happen.
It's no difference between the book and the podcast.
That's true. I guess podcasts have to become a lot more entertaining in the future.
Really?
To keep you engaged.
Because now you can just, I think you can several AIs to make the text information of oral discussion, then make a sum up, and that's all. And then you don't need to watch. But from my perspective, you need only 1% from every podcast, 1% from every book. And if it can improve you, then this time is not waste.
Or you read the summary of the 10 podcasts and you say like, oh, this actually seems really interesting. Maybe I want to dive deeper. And then you actually listen to the podcast as well.
I need to find a way how to implement all of the things. The more I speak with different people about AI, the more I realize that I am stuck in the past because my use cases for the AI are not so good. And we just kept this story. I had a good friend of mine who more than a year ago, they developed a very beautiful AI that analyzed all the information about some of the niche and then make a sum up. And it just sent it to the Telegram and I just skipped it. And I skipped a lot of different things also in the content. I know that now we have a lot of influencers who just generate content using AI. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the issue is the spaces move so fast. For example, 3 weeks ago, you might have been cutting edge by using a Llama 3.1 model, but then DeepSeek just recently came out, and all of a sudden, all the open source models were obsolete because DeepSeek is just so much better and so much more efficient on a per token basis that it doesn't make sense not to use it in the open source community. So it's a very fascinating space. It keeps me on my toes. It means I have to basically read, like stay on social media, consistently stay updated. Like I even put a post on DeepSeek on my Twitter, and literally it's 1,500 times less expensive than OpenAI for the same model and same level of intelligence. That was from my perspective, was a huge win for open source because it makes building these systems significantly cheaper versus centralized systems.
Where did you get all the information to stay on the edge of the technologies? Maybe you can share some of the, sources of information, because it's a lot of information at the moment. But the sources of information that you interact on a daily basis is quite limited. But these sources, they can make a huge difference. So for the different person, like one of them interrupt this information in one way, the other one. Where can me as an entrepreneur, can I get all the latest, news or information about the AI technologies, AI implementation, AI use cases?
Yeah, it's quite interesting because my LinkedIn is my source for all Web 2 AI.
Wow.
Yeah, because I follow, because I went through Y Combinator, I follow, the Y Combinator crew. They talk about kind of the latest development and market trends that they see. And they also talk about their requests for proposals. And then my email sometimes gives me a breakdown of everything that's chatted about in the Y Combinator chats as well. So I use those two sources essentially. So for people that don't have access to that, they can use LinkedIn plus, let's say, Hacker News, for example, and then follow Y Combinator and others. A lot of my friends are in the AI field, so I just see their posts consistently. It's like, oh, this new model came out and it's able to do that. Like, for example, I follow some people from A16Z and they talk about their new investments. And so I get kind of information and the way they think about the latest in AI. Web3 AI, it's primarily all X/Twitter, essentially. That's where a lot of the news there come from. And then sometimes some of the PR publications like Cointelegraph and so on that talk about it.
How much time per day do you spend on email?
Email, very little these days, much more on social media. I'd say maybe an hour on email max. And then social media, probably 2-3 hours or so every day.
Oh, which social media? X and LinkedIn?
Yeah, X and LinkedIn primarily. Sometimes a little Farcaster as well. I try to stay off things like TikTok and Instagram because it just sucks me in. The algorithms are so good that once I get into it, it's like, oh, this is really cool. Okay, let me look at it again. Look at me. The other thing that I would actually love to do is build an AI agent for me as well that analyzes all the new research papers that have come out for a particular day. And don't quote me on this, but I think there's like an AI research paper that gets released maybe every minute. So how can a human being like possibly actually stay on track? And then just summarizes it and says, okay, here's what it's about. Here was the research methodology. Here's the holes. Here's the benefits. Here were the results. How should we interpret them? And then just be able to consistently stay on trend, even more the cutting edge than what LinkedIn is. Because LinkedIn, by the time it hits my LinkedIn feed, it's probably a week old at this point because the research paper is already discussing something that's even more advanced the moment they come out. That would be another great use case for our technology. You can just build an agent with like fine-tuning and inference to actually analyze a lot of this stuff.
Hey, if you like this video, don't forget to watch a full episode and also check the links in the description below.